I'm actually going to talk about, there's a lot of conversations about leadership. We talk and talk and talk about leadership. And people still struggle with the concept of leadership, okay? Because I always say here, I want to grow leaders so that you can grow further leaders within your service lines and department, so that we become an organization where leadership growth is but the norm for us, the default. The default culture is that I want everyone to be leaders. And for a leader to grow leaders, number one, you should have a leader who's got a mindset that, yes, I want to sort of invest in the quality of my employee engagement on an employee that is under my circle of influence, okay? And that's the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because they want to do it. That's believing in the big vision and the mission of the organization. Actually, they say that the only job of the CEO is to ensure that your organization has got a meaningful mission and a vision, because that's the purpose that defines why we want to get up in the morning and come to work, other than the fact that employees just wake up and come to work because you just want a salary. But you can get the salary anyway, you don't have to be here for that, you can be anywhere. So my job essentially is to sort of make this mission and vision real in your lives, because if it is not real in the lives of the employees, then a mission statement will just hang on your neck or it's framed up on the wall, and that really is not a mission. Everyone needs to understand, why are we here this morning and what is our sole purpose? And this sole purpose has got two dimensions. One is for the mission of the organization, and the other is a purpose that is very solely personal to you. Because why do you do what you do? I mean, last time I talked about the whys, okay? It is the whys that define us, why we do certain things. And I think that why and the purpose for each one of us is very important. Many of us haven't discovered this why we do what we do. But I'm now talking as the American Mission Hospital or the healthcare system that we are creating, and what is our primary mission and vision? And if you're a leader, you have to sort of, everything that you do has to actually come out from that well. Of what is our mission, what is our vision, and how can we use that organizational mission to, number one, me grow as a leader, and number two, help others around me grow in their leadership skills. There are 4 easy steps, just 4 easy steps, and just pay attention to this. Okay, these are the 4 easy steps. Okay, you have to create an inspiring vision of the future. That's what leaders do. They don't talk about what is happening now. Okay, what is happening now has been defined by leaders before us who actually worked here. Samuel Swerver had a vision 120 years ago, and we are still fulfilling, his vision from that. But it is up to us to define what our long-term future is. And so leaders are always looking at 5 or 10 years ahead to see how is the landscape going to look like, and how is the mission of the organization going to change to fit into this new future that is going to overtake us, whether we like it or not. Time waits for nobody. We will age, we will ultimately die, and time will actually move on. So, but what is in our control is how we define and create this vision that is ahead of us, and then work hard to make that vision a reality. So the second step is, you've created this vision for your service line, and whatever that vision is, okay? And a vision is usually something that you currently don't do, okay? Now, Tansir can be saying, oh, I'm the head of purchasing a pharmacy and all of the systems are fine. But his vision is about not carrying on the same job that he's been doing for the last so many years. It's about creating something new that is going to radically alter or change or disrupt the way, that particular department is going to run. And similarly, we all have the ability to radically disrupt the way we are doing things to create a new vision by which we will define healthcare. Okay? The thing is, it's not as complicated as we think it is. The only problem is we will have to put our minds to it. There needs to be a little bit of intentionality and thought that goes behind what are we routinely doing, what can we do differently, and yet achieve a far better outcome than what we are currently doing. So, and ultimately the second step is motivating, inspiring people to engage with whatever that vision you want to create for your service line. The third thing is the actual execution part of it. Okay, once you've created the vision and once you've got the people to believe in this vision, then you need to manage the delivery of that vision. Okay, and managing the delivery, this is where usually failure actually happens. It is the actual execution. Yeah, we like to do all of this, we want to be this, we want to be that, we want to be all of the above. But you know what? When the rubber hits the road, well, I would rather do work the old way. I don't want to do the new way. It's a change. I have to learn new skills. All kinds of things, excuses or barriers will come up. And then that vision begins to kind of fuss and fade because we are not actively engaged in actually fulfilling that. And finally, this is what it all comes down to. Finally, it is your role, everyone's role, to coach and build a team that executes this vision. The CEO or the leader of a service line or a department head or a director, even though he owns what he has to do, he or she on their own cannot fulfill this vision. It's a multi-talented, multitasking, cohort of people that will come together with diverse abilities, divergent viewpoints, and yet with a single focus of executing a vision that you want to execute. For example, I've given Leo a task of completely digitizing the organization, and I told him I want HIMSS accreditation. We were going to be the first hospital in this region, in the GCC, that's going to have a HIMSS 6 accreditation. It's a tall order. We are at HIMSS 3 now, stretching it, and to get to HIMSS 6, it's far more difficult than getting your Diamond accreditation or ISO or your JC accreditation. It's a lot more trickier because it's HIMSS 7. I would be happy with HIMSS 6. The next guy who comes after me can shoot for the HIMSS 7. Okay, I will be very happy with the HIMSS 6. But I'm just giving you an example of that. So that's a very specific goal that I would actually give to Leo and say, okay, Leo, I want you to execute this. Okay, I want AMH to be HIMSS 6 on our IT digitization score globally. And by the way, there are just 4 hospitals, I think, in the world that's a HIMSS 7, by the way. Just 4 in the world. I think there's a couple in the US, 1 in Europe, and I don't think there's any in Asia. So here again, you're casting a vision that seems impossible. It just seems impossible. How can a small organization like AMH cast a vision so big to acquire a HIMSS 6? And yet, to me, it is doable. It is doable because if we invest in the people and the infrastructure to make it happen, and then we have a very clear strategy and a roadmap of how we get there, we can achieve it. It's like how we've achieved everything here. How did we achieve the first Australian accreditation, the Diamond accreditation? So there was a goal for us, and we created a roadmap or a strategy to sort of get it done. And there was a ton of people that came around this vision of actually getting a Diamond accreditation. So it was not just one person or the QI team, but there's a myriad of people with a myriad of activities that came together to get that done. So these 4 steps are the simple 4 steps that if you can sort of take it on board and then start applying it in your workplace, you are well on your way to becoming a leader. This journey, by the way, is a hard one. It's not an easy journey. Okay, it's not a PowerPoint slide. These are just 4 steps. But when you start applying this in your day-to-day practice, and one of the things that I do here on every huddle is to share with you something that I learn. I'm constantly learning. And the day I stop learning is the day, unless Alzheimer's or something comes by. The day they put me under the ground, I hope I'll be learning even that morning or that night. Because for me, it is the food for the brain. And it keeps you agile, it keeps you young at heart and young at mind, and it gives you a tremendous opportunity to mentor other people around you so that they also become avid learners, and they also acquire pretty much all of the skills and more skills than you have to kind of do the job that every one of you are called in to do. Okay, so it is not just your self-development goals. A lot of people are doing that and they're doing it successfully. But I just want you to think beyond what you're currently doing at the moment and start visioning, because vision, the ability to think ahead and craft a bigger vision is one of the abilities of great leaders. And you need to start practicing it. It's not a great idea if I come and say something here, yeah, you do it. That's good, but that's not your original idea, okay? And one of the things up on our balance scorecard is innovation and learning. And at the year end, when I look at our achievements as an organization, it is on that innovation and learning piece that I struggle to fill. What is it truly that we learned as an organization this year that is different from last year? And this learning and innovation is preparing us in some way to have a lead or an advantage going into the future. That's what innovation and learning is all about. It's not getting an MBA and then you keep your MBA in your drawer. But what are you going to do with an MBA or AMH or whatever else? So that innovation and learning piece is a key bit that I think we as an organization need to actually pay attention to. Okay? And my last slide is this one. There are 3 steps in this. In anything that we do on planet Earth, okay, whether you work in Google or Microsoft or whether you work in whatever company, these are the 3 steps that we have to go through before we take an idea that is yours, that is a creative or innovative idea that actually comes from your head or your team's head, and then what you do is, we all are sick and tired of PDSA cycles, but again, you can take your innovation idea, run it through a couple of PDSA cycles to see, can we actually running it through a different kind of a system make a difference? And maybe that will bring our waiting time down, maybe that will improve our follow-ups, maybe that will improve compliance for our patients getting the refill medications. There are so many, there's a array of KPIs you can actually look at to see whether your innovative ideas is actually catching on. Now, most ideas, by the way, are like dreams. You wake up in the morning and it's gone. Okay, you wake up and the dream is gone. So there's no point in having an innovative idea, creative idea for anyone in this organization, and that idea is not actually taken and developed. Okay, and this development stage might take a few weeks, it might take months, sometimes it might take years. You come with a radical innovative idea, but unless that innovation is actually adopted means it has now become a policy that we actually adopt it right through the organization. Okay, it's like the D365, a new ERP system, we've adopted it, or like Medcare, that's the system by which everything is done here, so we've adopted it. Okay, so the second phase, after we create something within our service lines or an individual set, is to actually adopt it. And this adoption, by the way, is going to be shared. For example, we decide that we're going to sort of bring in IBAR, for example. Okay, so initially it was as a creative idea in the minds of a few people, and we shared it, we thought about it, and then we looked at the various options, and finally we talked to this company in India who could actually do it for us. There was a business side to it which was dealt with, and finally IBAR was actually launched over a period of time, tweaking it and improving it so that IBAR is now here. And now we are adopting. So we are now in the adoption phase of IBAR. Now, after adoption comes the third phase, and this is the most critical phase. The critical phase is when an idea is adopted, and that idea that is adopted is now diffusing everywhere. I'll give you an example of Google and Microsoft. Okay, when Steve Jobs or Bill Gates in the garage had this idea of developing computers, Bill Gates had this idea, and you have to think about in those days an IBM computer filled a room like this. That is what a computer was. So when Bill Gates said, what, my aim is to put a PC on the desk of every office worker or a child, that was a radical departure from having IBM mainframes in air-conditioned rooms to having a PC sitting on your desk. And from there, it has changed to this one. Pretty much everything we can do it here. So that was a radical, innovative idea that took some time for its genesis, and then it got adopted. Then it was sort of, it was commercialized, but now it is completely diffused globally. Now there is nobody, no fisherman in no part of the world that does not want a smartphone. Okay, the smartphone for the fisherman will predict the weather. It will tell him when the high tide and the low tide is. It will even give him the spot price of fish that he's going to, that he's going to sell. So things have changed so dramatically. So for us as an organization, I just want you to remember these 3 steps, okay, of your creativity, your innovation, whatever it is. If you can cut off a step in something that's cumbersome, or there's a pain point that patients are feeling in the outpatients or wherever else, and you really come up with a radical solution that you can bypass that or eliminate that step, how great that would be. I mean, yesterday I was watching a video in Carrefour in UAE. Some of you must have seen this video where you can now literally go into Carrefour and pick up all the stuff and walk out. And the charge is automatic, but you have to register with them so that whatever you pick up is automatically credited to your credit card.
It's like the Amazon store.
Exactly. So you can literally pick it up. This is in UAE. You can literally, it's completely AI driven. You pick it up, put it in your cart, or you can bag it yourself and walk out. And you can actually go and click, and then it will give you a printout of what you've actually taken. So if you want to reconcile how much it has been debited or there was a mistake. So this is where the world is now moving to, okay? And I was just sitting, when I saw that video, I said, how great it would be for a patient to literally walk into AMH, get his care, and he walks out, and there is no cash payment, no insurance, no nothing. Because that's where the pain point is. What if I eliminate that pain point completely, and all I will tell patients is, if you've got an insurance patient, you pre-register, and there is some way of the payment being made online or whatever it is, it can be tracked, so that the patient doesn't have to go back to the cashier or the insurance. It is completely done online. We can use RPAs to track it. We could use acts to sort of, So now that to me is a radical departure from the way business is done. Radically different. And what if we said that, your insurance will only cover 32 BD, but this costs 40 BD. We're not going to tell them, no, go and renew your insurance and come back for a second time to refill that 8 BD medicine. We said, you know what, we will give you the 40 BD medicine, and we will put that. And then next time, because these are customers that we know. So to start off with, we will have this fear of, oh, maybe they're not going to pay and they're going to lose this money. That is exactly what the thing was. When in London, I remember 1970s, late 1970s, I was shocked when I went to London and I saw newspapers kept there outside, and there's a little thing there. So you picked up a newspaper and threw your penny in. I said, newspapers? Money is freely lying there. They did several studies on this and found that no one picked up a newspaper and did not pay. So this is a simple thing like a newspaper, and I'm talking about the 1970s. Okay? Now we are 2020 now. With all of this technology here, surely there must be ways by which our patients can literally come in and out without having to sort of float around the system and then make life miserable for them. We can do it, okay? But that needs an innovative idea. Someone needs to work at it. We need to create it. We need to adopt it to see how it works. And then finally, if it works, it becomes a diffusion thing. And then it changes everything for the patient. I was just looking at, I'm traveling next weekend I'm traveling, unfortunately to the US, and then I suddenly realized I need to get a PTCR test done there before I have to return back. So I said, New York, I'm going to be there and I need to get a PTCR test. how am I and where am I going to get the PTCR test? I just went online, looked at it, looked at the hotel where I was staying, and there are 3 centers within walking distance to where I stay. It gives you the time, no appointments needed, you can make an appointment, there's a walk-in. And there are walk-in urgent care centers all over the US now. Walk-in urgent care centers. You simply go and Google it, these urgent care centers. And amazingly, these urgent care centers, there is a menu exactly like your food menu that's actually given there. Incision and draining, $120. Earwax removal, $60. And it gives you the menu for immunizations, whatever it gives you the cost. So virtually you don't have to have insurance, but you have to have some form of money to pay for it. And you don't have to go and wait in an emergency room. You don't have to go and find a GP. Literally, you find one of these urgent care units, you just go and walk in. In some centers, there are board certified physicians, others there are nurse practitioners. They will see you in and out in 20 minutes. You can even do laps. So this is how the world has moved. And we are still stuck in the age of, you need to come, make an appointment, park your car, come and wait in the waiting room for half an hour. The doctor is busy, wait for another half an hour, no one talks to you, or people are rude to you, even worse. So this is the experience. But even today, even we are not prepared to take that kind of nonsense. And yet we expect our patients to go through all of this. So the reason I'm talking to you today is, it's all very well and done saying that we are diamond status, we've got ISO, we've got this, all of the above is great, is wonderful news. But if we have to stay ahead of the curve in the sort of world that we are currently living in, we have to go through all of this in pretty much all the processes that we're doing here. Okay? And this is leadership. Leadership is not about coming in and then carrying on the work that somebody else started and just finishing it and saying, okay, I've accomplished my goal. Leadership is about creating a new vision that will carry on the growth of this organization way beyond our time here. So it is sowing the seeds that will actually reap a harvest for us, say, 20 years from now. So pretty much everything that is being done through the new hospital is sowing a seed that is going to create healthcare, that's going to change a lot of things in Bahrain in the next 20 years. Not it's going to change things today. It will change things today, but it will also continue to keep the growth going for the next 20 years. On that happy note, have a good weekend and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.